All right, so I want to start this video with a couple quotes. You know, I like giving y'all some quotes, right? And so the first quote I'm going to mention, it says, never take advantage of the person who does the most for you. Now, I think we can agree, don't take advantage of anyone doing that's willing to do for you, period, right? But let's get to the second one. The second one is, if someone is using you, you can deny their access. And so here's the thing that we're talking about today. A lot of women in the dating arena, and let me just say this real quick, because I don't want to get right into like this whole men being manipulative and all this stuff. I want to remind y'all, like there really genuinely, seriously are great men out there, are good men. I do think that a lot of unfortunate relationship situations are due to people who do not fit together, and it's not always about people just being bad people, though that does exist. I think a lot of times when it's the wrong fit, bad things can occur, all right, or unfortunate things can occur. However, I don't want to act like and ever ignore the fact that as a woman, I want you to be mindful of the men out there who will be looking to use you. And I want you to be able to identify them as quickly as possible. That's the thing. Like, listen, because I don't like seeing these situations where women end up getting caught up for months, years, or getting so deep into a situation where they're being completely taken advantage of, being used, and they don't know how to get out, or they're not accepting the behaviors and the signs that they're seeing that's showing them this guy is not it. And this guy's intentions are not good. Now, I also believe in a lot of cases that happens due to lack of healing from some things and not listening to your intuition. But let's put that aside for a second and just focus on the behaviors that a lot of these men will show when they are indeed using you, okay? And let me also say real quick before I get to the first one, remember my rule. You don't see a red flag and just jump to the final conclusion and run. You see a red flag, you address it. If it is not properly handled and corrected, then you let that joker go. All right, plain and simple. All right, now, so one of the big signs or behaviors of a man who is using you is that he's all talk, no action. All right? So I do believe we're living at a time where a lot more men are bold with their inaction, or they're willing to express their unwillingness to do certain things and meet certain standards. And you have men now who think, well, they're the prize, so you should be chasing them and all these different things. Completely different discussion. But the point is that a lot of these guys, there are guys out there who will play the game of feeding you a dream, selling you whatever you want to buy from them to make you feel good, to make you think that they're really into you, all for the purpose of being able to take from you. And so you have to be mindful to not just fall in love or be drawn in by the words a man speaks. He has to back it up with actions. Now, I'm sure almost everyone watching this video has heard the saying, actions speak louder than words, which is true in the majority of cases. However, what I really want everyone to embrace is that the actions and the words have to line up and be consistent. Because just for a quick second, you'll have some situations where a woman says, well, he's showing me all the right actions, but his words are either saying something different, like I don't want a relationship, or he's unwilling to express love, or whatever the case may be, and they let those actions keep them lingering, only for that guy to later on tell them, well, I never told you I wanted to be with you. You know what I'm saying? And then now she's heartbroken and feels like she's been used, or she has been used all this time. So it's not just about the actions. If you want real clarity, it's the actions and the words both being consistent and both lining up. But again, there are men who are going to claim, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I got this for you, boom, 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 boom. And then when the time comes, it's excuses. It's, oh, I forgot, oh, give me more time. There's just always a dragging out of things, but never an execution of them, right? And so there comes a point where you have to recognize that, okay, wait a minute, is this dude constantly falling short of what he claims? And even more importantly, while he's, or as importantly, while he's falling short that way, does that coincide with him though expecting and taking things from you? Because it's one thing, right? If you're dating a guy in a relationship with this man and he's falling short, which is still a problem, he's not backing up his words, still has to be addressed, right? But if he's doing that, but at the same time, he's not a burden to you, he's not taking from you, then I'm not going to be quick to be like, oh, he's using you. This might be due to a different kind of issue. So for example, you have some men who they want to be better than what they are, and they'll make these proclamations to you, but they have no real plan to back it up, right? And they're not really in the position that they claim they're in or want to be in to provide you those things that they're claiming. So that can happen, but again, I think it's important to recognize, is he taking while he's not giving and making these claims? So again, address it first, right? Because there could be a first instance where, you know, he says, okay, I'm gonna do this for you, or whatever case may be, and then something genuinely happens that he's unable to do it, right? So we're not gonna hold it against him for the first time that happens. It's when it's a constant pattern of behavior. That's when it's like, okay, wait a minute. Is this dude just, again, selling me a dream and not really serious about pouring into me in the ways that you need? So be very mindful of that. Definitely a huge behavior of men who are trying to use you. All right, so another huge common behavior when a man is using you is that everything is at his convenience. All right, so I'll just give you a quick little story. Woman's dating a man, they talk on the phone, everything seems cool, everything seems to be going well. They want to hang out. He claims he has a lot going on, he's very busy. So she tries to accommodate him initially, just, you know, because she wants to meet, she wants to go on this date, she thinks there's potential here. And all right, cool, they go on a date, everything seems cool. But then as time goes on, right, he's never making adjustments for her. Hell, in the situation I'm thinking about, he will go weeks where he's unavailable. And then when he's now free, he's expecting her to drop everything and be there at his beck and call. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, if we're keeping it real, there are some women who will do it, and aren't paying attention to the fact that, hey, this guy is not trying to be flexible in any kind of way. Now, mind you, you know, I always have to give like the other side, because it's not always black and white, right? So let's just say there's a man who legitimately is busy, okay? And legitimately it is hard for him to make time. Well, one could argue if he really is that busy, maybe he shouldn't be dating right now, okay? But if you're willing to still date him, I do think that it doesn't automatically mean that guy is trying to use you. And I think in that case, you're going to have to look at the overall picture of things. So again, I always say you have to be careful with just taking one thing and running with it. You have to kind of look at the overall big picture and say, okay, is this man doing everything else right, but his schedule is the only issue? All right, then maybe we give him more benefit of the doubt. However, if he's doing this everything at his convenience, plus like when he's out with you, he's not pouring into you, or he's not keeping up with you with communication. Because like, okay, it's one thing if he can't always meet up with you, but he can at least text, call, something that you would find sufficient. Because it's going to be dependent on each different woman, right? Because y'all going to want different things in your situations. So if he can't make up for it in any kind of way, either he's using you or he's just not that serious about you. Either way, it's not worth your time. You know what I'm saying? So you have to make sure that you are expressing that concern. And I do think that, all right, for someone who is busy, or if they're claiming, because again, the user may claim to be busy, it's all right, well then let's schedule things in advance, right? If he can't keep up with that, he's just not worth you entertaining any longer, right? Excuse me. So it's just another one of those issues. And I definitely think that it's not just seeing you. It's not just speaking to you. this is kind of hitting my spirit, even though some of y'all might question why would the spirit hit me with this. But let's just say, listen, some of y'all are going to cross the lines of intimacy while dating. I'm not here to argue whether you should or shouldn't right now. All right, we know what the rule is spiritually, but the reality is that many will cross that line. And so even in moments like that, is this man, is everything about him and his selfishness, you know what I'm saying, while ignoring your needs and what you're looking for? You know what I'm saying? Is he attentive to you in any kind of way? And again, even if it's not intimacy, just in when you guys are hanging out, just in all the little small ways you have to pay attention to, does he make any accommodations for you? Is he ever willing to make adjustments for you? Or is everything about him? And if it is, let him go be by himself. All right, so we got a few more. And another huge behavior of a man who is just using you is that he constantly complains when you do ask him for something. So I want to start off this way with this point. A lot of you are unable to reveal this issue in some of the men you're dating because many of you are too afraid to even ask for anything. All right? A lot of women, whether it be through pride, whether it be through this fear of looking a certain kind of way, whatever the case may be, they're holding back making any kind of requests, right? And again, we're not saying like you're asking for money or some expensive gifts or whatever. It could be, again, little favors. It could be things, little simple things. It can be to handle a task for you, whatever the case may be. But a lot of you, in an attempt to want to come across like, you know, I'm not needy or I can handle this myself, you don't ask. But the problem is that plays right into the hands of the user because you don't request nothing of him. And at the same time, you're still quick to do for him when he asks you, and he has no problem asking you. Okay? And it kind of reminds me of how that same kind of woman, perfect example, because it doesn't, a lot of these things, when it's an internal battle for you as a woman, it goes beyond just the man you're dating. So that kind of woman may see that same issue reflect with her friends and family to where everyone comes to you for help, right? And you're always looking for ways to be of service to all these people. But they no longer offer you help, and you don't ever ask them. Now, in fairness to both family, friends, and potentially that man, one of the problems is that when you keep exhibiting or trying to exude this, I got it, I can handle it, I'm a strong woman, all these things, you can condition people to feeling like, oh, okay, well, I don't need to ask anymore. She good. I don't need to check on her. She's fine. Even though some of the strongest women, you need to be checked on. You need somebody to show some concern and love for you. But you have to be able to receive that, right? And you have to be able to show a level of vulnerability that you could use some help, that you could use somebody checking up on you rather than acting like, no, I'm good, right? Now, I would argue in regards to a man you are dating, if he really likes you, chances are he's going to make an attempt. So that's another key thing is like, all right, it's one thing to be dating a guy who never offers, right? Versus the guy who was offering, you kept shutting down, and then he stopped. That's very different. All right. And so you have to be mindful of if you're watching this video and you're already in this situation, you have to ask yourself, okay, did I set the stage for this? Or is this how he's been the whole time? All right. And if he's been like that the whole time, then we lean towards user. If he wasn't like this in the beginning, then we lean towards you shut it down. Okay. Either way, what happens with the guys when you finally do start to ask, right, is that the user makes issue of it. Like the guy who's really trying to be with you and pour into you. And of course, we're not talking about anything ridiculous, right? Reasonable, fair things. He wants to be your Superman. He wants to be there for you. He wants to be reliable to you. But the user, he's either going to employ the all talk, no action. Oh, yeah, okay, I got you. And then boom, not do it, right? Or like, dang, why you always need this? Or why you can't do this yourself? Or, somehow throwing it back in your face. Or, I see it happen a lot on the internet. They throw the whole equality argument in your face. Oh, I thought men and women are equal. Why you need me to do this? Right? Which I really dislike. But in fairness, if you are a woman who's pushing that, again, ask yourself, am I setting the stage for this type of situation? And when you push that, well, you're more likely to attract the man who's going to be about that. All right. But either way, I think it's important and imperative for you to make sure that you are able to receive, you are able to ask. I don't want you to do it in the sense of testing him, right? I just want you to be genuine about it and not be afraid, right? To lean on that guy and see if he's willing to just, again, handle little small tasks for you, right? Or when he does offer, if he does offer, allowing yourself to do, catch yourself rather than, no, I got it. No, because him offering is him attempting to show you care, love, pour into you. Allow him to do it. Now, here's one more thing before we move on. What's funny is you'll have some of these users who will offer because they don't think you're going to accept. They see you accept and then they end up not doing it because they weren't thinking that was going to go that way. So again, it's really good to be able to ask because it exposes a man a lot faster. All right, so let's keep this thing going. And another behavior of a man who is using you is that he will do the least but ask for the most. Okay? So what it reminds me of, real quick, easy story, is woman was dating a man, and they were seeing each other for, let's say, a few weeks to a month, maybe a few weeks to a month. And initially, he would try to do little things like, give her $20 here. I know some of y'all may hear $20, be like, what? $20? Listen, he would do small gestures. Let's not focus let's focus on the amounts for a second. So he would do little small gestures with that. He might pay for the coffee, pay for the food, whatever, right? He'll do the little things. But then a week after, like the fourth week, whatever, he asked her to borrow like $1,500. And so what he was doing was he was planting those little seeds of, you see, I do for you. But again, he was doing it with little. Now, I don't want to minimize those efforts if it was done genuinely. So if there's a man who's dating you and he's, sending you a quick $20 for some lunch, buy you coffee, whatever, I want you to embrace those things. So I don't want you to look at those gestures in a skeptical way. But yeah, if that joker comes around talking about $1,500 or whatever, he needs his car fixed or something, and can you help him out? That's the problem, because then we can look back and be like, oh, wait a minute, this might have all been a setup, right? And so again, that's one little example, but it goes far beyond that. Some guys will, again, make small little deposits because they are looking to pull more out of you. But let's say it's not even like that. Let's not even say they're playing the game of planting those small seeds, so to speak. It may simply be that when you ask him of things, right, and when you need him for certain things, he does the bare minimum, all right? He does not put much effort. But then again, in turn, when he asks you for things, right, or expects you to pour into him, he's expecting top of the line. You see what I'm saying? And that is a problem, big time. Because again, you have to always remember, the guy who is serious and not playing games, he wants to show up in a way that impresses you, right? That makes you feel loved, wanted, desired, all these things. So for him to continuously fall short while you are doing so much for him, he would not feel comfortable with that. However, here's the caveat. There's a lot of men who may not understand that the level they're giving is not sufficient. Okay? Now, you may think he's a grown man. How can he not know? Listen, they say common sense, or it should be common sense. Well, common sense isn't always so common. And due to what he's experienced, how he was raised, whatever the case may be, he may not understand the level of effort that you require in certain instances and situations. So this is definitely one of those, I mean, they all are as far as I'm concerned, but this is even more so maybe one that you have to discuss. Because in discussing with him, and again, what's interesting is that when you discuss with these men these issues, if he's a user, he is likely to fall under one of the other tactics or behaviors I'm mentioning to reinforce his nonsense. So it's like, okay, if you bring up to him that you feel like his effort is not really there, or he doesn't do as much but expects so much out of you, well, he'll start complaining. He'll make it all about himself. He will find ways to deflect. He will go into these other negative behaviors to reinforce the fact that this man is a user. However, on the flip side, if he's not that guy, he's going to be more willing to hear you out. Now, here's something that's important. When you address something like effort, because of the fact that effort can be viewed differently by different people, you don't want to come in dismissing and devaluing the effort, because in that person's mind, he might have really been going 100. Like he might be like, dang, I was really trying to make you happy, and you just completely dumped on it like it was nothing. So you have to be careful. You have to say, listen, I appreciate. You have to acknowledge the effort that was made. Even if he's the user, you got to do this, because again, if he is the user, he'll get exposed in this conversation. But I appreciate, the things that you did. However, I feel like when I do things for you, I'm going all out. And with you, I feel like I'm not getting your best. That's a really nice way to put it. You know what I'm saying? And to me, if he is mature enough and healthy enough and serious enough about you, he will be receptive to that. But if you simply attack him, even if he's a good guy, that can set the stage for arguments, resentment, derail a relationship that could have potentially been worked out. So be mindful of that when addressing these issues. All right, so before I get to this next point, real quick, I want to give you the opportunity to join my special program. It's called How to Choose a Man, all right? The goal of this program is to help women vet men as quickly as possible. No letting the wrong men drag along, waste your time, steal your energy, rob you of your peace. None of that. None of that. We get them in, we get them out, and we set you up to receive the man who is truly best for you. Women are finding this program extremely helpful. Click the link in the description or in the comment section, or go to chooseaman.com. All right. So moving things along, another big common behavior of a man who is using you is that he engages in manipulation tactics. Okay. So again, the user understands that he cannot be straightforward and honest about his desires to use you if he's going to get away with it. And so right off the bat, he has to be a liar, he has to be a manipulator, and he has to find ways to make that work for him. And so you have to be paying attention to when you are dealing with a man who engages in things like gaslighting, right? Breadcrumbing, guilt trips, right? One of the ones I see very common is the turning of the tables. I don't know what the psychological term would be for it, but essentially it's like you'll have a situation where you're calling him out for doing something wrong, right? That he legitimately, not even like it's up in the air. No, it's legitimately there was a violation. Let's say you caught him flirting with a woman on social media, right? Clear as day. And then when you bring it to his attention, he done flipped the whole thing over on you and somehow has made this about you, whether about, well, why were you even looking at my phone? Or, oh, you don't trust me. Oh, no, you're just insecure. And on and on and on. Everything about attacking you, nothing about taking accountability for his actions. Okay? And I have seen women, and I know of women through my coaching where they've allowed it to happen. They've fallen into it. And listen, like, I'm always about giving you these messages with love and compassion. And I don't ever want y'all to like beat yourselves up and feel like you're being talked down to in any kind of way. You know what I'm saying? I want you to understand that I get it. It can happen to so many. It does happen to so many women, getting caught up with these manipulators and allowing it to linger on. And I don't want you to beat yourself up. I just want you to become aware and empowered to do what needs to be done and to break free or to not allow yourself to fall into these situations any longer. And even if you learn everything, because here's the reality real quick side note, right? There's another saying that rules are for people we don't like. so the unfortunate truth is that the more we like somebody, the more we are excited about somebody or the potential of it, the more flexible we can become even when we know better, okay? The more likely we are to overlook a red flag or to want to see yellow instead of red, okay? And all these different things. And it happens to pretty much everybody. And of course, the less we are into this person, the easier it is for us not to fall into this nonsense. This is why even when you know what you can still end up making mistakes. But the great thing is you can still catch yourself and change course and move in a better direction. And that's the goal, all right? But the guy who's using you will engage in various manipulation tactics. And here's another thing I want you to be mindful of, right? When you want to sniff out a manipulator, you can't only examine what he does with you, because sometimes there may be situations where it's harder to catch when he's doing it with you for various reasons. But manipulators tend to go beyond just their romantic relationship. So you have to be mindful of, how does he treat others? Are you seeing this manipulation and using tendency with other people? Okay? Family, friends, whoever. Because if you do, it needs to be, and I'm not saying, again, right away just run because you saw him do it to somebody else. No, talk about it. Talk about it so we can understand what this is. And at least this way, if it's discussed, now he's put on notice that you're seeing what you're seeing. So if he was even thinking about running it by you, he's going to think twice. He probably abort the whole mission now, okay? Or he's more likely to. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of how he is overall, not just with you in the relationship. All right, so we got a couple more to go. And another huge behavior of a man who is using you is that he's constantly taking shots at your self-esteem. So this can be counted as one of those manipulation tactics, but I felt it was important to highlight it and dive a little bit deeper into it, okay? So one of the strategies of manipulators and users is that I have to, let me not say I'm sorry. do not think I ever engage in this stuff, please. I was putting myself in their shoes in that moment, all right? Lord help me. So listen, he has to make you feel like he is better than you. He has to make you feel like you're lucky to have him. He has to make you feel like you don't have better options. And when I say he has to making you feel that way gives him greater levels of control over you, okay? Which is why a lot of those men, and some will try to use you without doing this, because some will try to use you while buttering you up and making you feel all good and great, but then use that to slide in and get what they want from you. Others will try to attack your confidence over and over and over again, all right? Belittle you, be highly critical of you, give you backhanded compliments. They're trying to essentially humble you, okay? And I hate having to say this, but I'm gonna say this because it's just a real thing, all right? Some of you may view this point as an automatic, we don't need to, like this is one of those red flags we don't need to address. You still gotta address it. Well, I would still want you to. You ain't gotta do nothing you don't want to do, okay? You're a grown woman. But you should, because here's the crazy reality. There are men out there who are being taught to believe that doing that it is necessary for him to be able to have a successful relationship. He's being told to do that so that he doesn't put himself in a position of weakness and he ends up being the one getting used. There's a lot of guys getting toxic information out there. And so some are not genuinely users. They're men hoping to not get used. And again, I know that sounds crazy, but it's just the honest to God truth. So again, by addressing it and talking about it, that can be revealed and then handled and corrected, because if he is that kind of guy and you bring this issue up to him, he'll fix it, plain and simple. Because once he realizes, oh, wait a minute, this isn't actually helping me, this is hurting me, and this is pushing the woman away, he'll change. And again, whether you believe it or not, I've had men who've come to me because they employed these tactics because someone told them this is what you need to do. And then they come back to me like, yo, how do I get this woman back? I didn't want to lose her. I didn't mean, like, I thought that's what you're supposed to do. And again, it sounds so wild, but it's just a real issue. Anyways, getting back to the overall main point, there will be men who will attack you looks-wise, you're intelligent, in any which way. And you have to make sure as a woman that, one, not only do you recognize those things, but you do not internalize those things. Because unfortunately, what happens is some women, even though they end up leaving that guy or getting out of it, his words linger with them. And now her self-esteem is shot, and she's now struggling in how she moves forward with other men in relationships, okay? Or even starts to believe, like, she lets go of him, but she holds on to this idea of maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I won't find anything better. You can't let that happen to you. And so it's important that, you know, if you've experienced anyone coming at you like that, you heal from it. You remind yourself your value is not determined by man, it's determined by God. All right. And you have to embrace that value. And you have to understand not every man will see your value. Not every man is built to embrace and handle your value. But none of that changes your value. Quick analogy I used to always give. It's almost like if someone is selling a Rolls Royce, right? There's a dealership selling a Rolls Royce. You're going to have people who pass by the Rolls Royce and say, man, I would never pay whatever, $200,000 for that car. You're going to have other people that pass by that says, man, I wish I had $200,000 for that car. And then you're going to have some people or a person that comes by and says, here's the $200,000, I want the car. Now, when the people who passed by who said it ain't worth $200,000 or who didn't have the $200,000, did the dealer change his price? No. Did the car lose its value? No. It was still the Rolls Royce. And at the end of the day, it sat there and eventually someone bought it. I hope that makes sense. All right? So do not let any man determine or undermine your value, and do not buy into the attempts he has of trying to knock off your confidence. All right. And so another sign that, or another behavior of a man that's using you is that he will not commit to you. Now, I put this on here because here's the thing. It gets a little tricky in the sense that in the world that we live in today, you have plenty of people. There are some of you watching right now who will tell me, I don't want a relationship. I just want someone I can spend some time with. I just want some companionship. You're not looking for something serious. And so if two adults are on the same page, whether anybody agrees with it or not, as long as nobody's lying to each other, leading each other on, all these different things, and they're being real with each other, then it's like, all right, cool. I'm not calling anyone a user in that, even though, okay, yeah, you're both technically using each other for your benefit right now, but at least it's a mutual thing and you guys are on the same page about it, right? Right or wrong, at least that's what's happening. I'm talking about situations where you have the woman who wants more, the man who won't give her that more. However, he still wants to hold on to you. He still expects you to pour into him. He falls into that. He acts like, he doesn't want a girlfriend, but he acts like your boyfriend. Okay? That is where it's like, okay, he's using you. Because if you're making it clear to this man, and that's an important piece of this puzzle, you are expressing your desire for more. Because again, as I mentioned earlier in the video, one of the issues that women have is not asking for things, right? And another issue is not expressing what they truly desire as far as where things will go and where they feel things should be standing right now, so on and so forth. And if you don't do that, then again, you make it hard to reveal or to expose if he's just lingering around to get what he can get out of you. You have to talk about it. You have to let it be known. And then, yes, if he is unwilling to accept that while trying to hold on to you and expecting for you to keep giving, then that's using. On the flip side, if you let the man know, hey, listen, I'm looking for more and I'm not comfortable with all this in-between stuff. And he says to you, okay, listen, I'm not ready for more. I respect how you feel. So let's just be cool, cordial, whatever the case may be, but we don't have to continue with the dating. I can only respect that because at least he's not using you. He's not leading you on. He's not lingering. You still have to be careful because if you guys do try to be friends when you know you want more, it's very easy that things will then slide back into girlfriend, boyfriend-ish behavior or intimacy and things of that nature. But if he's at least taking the approach of, all right, I am not expecting things of you and holding you to this standard because I am unable to meet your standard, so be it, right? But again, I think the key thing in this, in him not committing to you, is that you are expressing a desire for commitment. And if you guys are not on the same page, you know, sometimes as much as we want something badly to happen, we have to accept when this is just not it. Maybe it's not time, maybe it's not the right person. Either way, it's not happening right now. Let go in peace, move forward in faith, love, and be prepared to receive what is best for you. Thank you for watching this video. I pray it was helpful to you. Be sure to watch this one over here on 7 things women should never do for a man. You definitely should not be putting yourself in a position of financial burden for this man. Now, understand this. There's various